morning, Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today?
Morning.
Another day, another dollar.
Yep.
It's crazy Chicago weather, man. We had snow yesterday, snow today. It was 60 degrees just a couple days ago. I'm getting sick because the weather's going.
I'm sick of the weather.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How you doing over there in Virginia, TK? It sounded like it was raining something fierce yesterday. You got our rain.
Yeah, we got some tornado warnings yesterday and torrential downpours, but nothing. I didn't see anything. I was right where the tornadoes were supposed to be at, and I didn't see any. And the customers kept asking me, "Y'all are working in a tornado warning?" I was like, "I'd rather be in your house than in my van. Like, it's safer in here than it is sitting in my van." So we just kept on working.
This is true, but this is also from one of the two guys that drove through a hurricane. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Me being the other one. That was a fun time. So while we got people tuning in, for those of you who don't know, if you didn't watch the podcast, go watch the podcast. Seriously, come on now. The guy all the way to my right as I'm facing the screen. I don't know which direction he is for you. Mike Carson, he is our business partner in the Service Alliance. He is the one who makes stuff happen. Two of us tend to be kind of in the background a little bit more than anything, but he built the site and all that stuff. Mike, introduce us to yourself. I know you did on the podcast, but for the group at large, just introduce who you are and what you do.
Hey, everybody. My name is Mike Carson. I am the owner of itdwebdesign.com. We own a digital agency here in Chicagoland and Joliet, and we basically just help everybody that we can succeed online.
Short and sweet, right to the point.
Yeah.
Short
I mean, that's it in a nutshell, right? So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, it's going to be a good topic. We had a lot of good questions come in, and we have some more good questions coming in. Andrew, I didn't forget you. I see your ad. I'm going to hit the ones that came in first, but I definitely see what you added. So thank you for that question. That's a great question. TK, you want to pray us in, and then we'll launch this off.
For sure. Ooh, my hair's messed up.
I got no hair, so
Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for an opportunity to gather together. Thank you for this beautiful sky this morning. Thank you that it's not raining. Thank you for the rain that we had yesterday. We appreciate you keeping us safe. We ask that you watch over us today. Be with us as we talk this morning. I pray that we would all leave this with a little bit more wisdom and knowledge. We thank you for the morning grind. We thank you for all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes of the Service Alliance group and the Appliance Alliance. And we just ask that you would just continue to bless it, continue to bless our businesses, be with those that are going through hard times, that are mourning, struggling, that are sick. And we pray these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All righty. So we're going to start off with the first question that came in yesterday. So Bob, who I actually just recorded a podcast with him yesterday, so that was fun. That'll be a good one. That's dropping Saturday. Bob says, I didn't watch the podcast yet and maybe cover this. What is your opinion, Mike, on using Fiverr to hire a guy to build external links? And he does have a follow-up question.
Don't do it. Buying those cheap services on Fiverr can be a big disaster. They can do much more harm than good. Link building has to be strategic, and all they're doing is basically posting links on their own private blog or private blog networks that they have. And they may be able to show you proof that they put up a piece of content with a link, but a private blog network like that, where anyone can get a link on it, through a paid service that's public, like Fiverr, all around the world, you have no idea what other content is being published on that website right alongside yours. And a lot of times it can be more detrimental. And those links are in general either absolutely useless or extremely low quality, and they're not going to do anything for you.
Yeah, we actually, you and I had that conversation because one of the tools that we use for our agencies had a sale on backlinks.
Yeah, that was on, I think, AppSumo, right?
Yeah, and so I'm just trying to learn about it, and Mike's like, "Don't, don't!" Like I can hear him screaming in the background, like, "Don't do it!" I'm like, I don't understand this. I'm just trying to find out. That's the relationship we have.
When it comes to backlinks, you need to be really strategic and have an actual backlink strategy in place. And if you're not getting links from high authority sites, and when I say high authority, I mean there's domain authority on every website, and those pages that your links get published on, that trickles down into page authority. So the higher the domain authority, which that means Google trusts that site more, because it's way more legitimate in Google's eyes. So a lot of times, you need at minimum, 20 to 30 domain authority. Like Google would be domain authority 100. Some other high profile news sites, they may be domain authority, I'm talking like the New York Times or something like that, could be at 90. They're never going to be as high as Google. You'll never get a website that's really high. I've got a few links to my own business that are DA 90, which is really hard to get. That's you're talking somewhere from like apple.com or amazon.com. Those types of things are going to be in the 90 to 100 range. But most general links in an industry from a high authority site are going to probably be in the 30 to 40, 50 range, would be considered in a niche market, like the appliance repair industry. That could be considered a higher authority domain in that niche. It just depends. There could be definitely higher ones, but that's probably going to be like the rough average.
So what can be done to undo the damage if you did pay for that?
There is a tool that Google has called the disavow tool. And you can take those links and you can disavow them, and you're basically telling Google to ignore the links. Now, before you go doing any of that and researching how to do that, the first question you need to know and ask is, why do I want to do this to this link? How do you know if that link is toxic? How do you know if the domain that it's coming from is toxic? In most cases, links are links. They're not going to harm you unless they're coming, from a porn site or something like that, or someone specifically tried to do some negative SEO to harm your business. And even then, that takes a lot of trickery from a real SEO expert to be able to do that. In most cases, the general public's not going to be able to do that effectively anyway. So in most cases, if you have anything that's a questionable link, get an SEO expert involved so that they can evaluate it before you go and take action that could even harm you further.
Just like we pay customers pay us to, go and fix their appliance. You should pay someone to fix your stuff when it's that bad.
Pay someone that knows a lot about that.
For sure. All right.
Because even a lot of SEOs out there, if they don't know what they're doing, they can also do the same thing. They can harm you just because they don't understand how all that works.
For sure. Mark Kelly asks, I show up well in my own town, but not in surrounding towns. What can be done about this?
Well, when you say you're showing up well in your own town, showing up for what? I mean, you could be showing up for your brand when someone types in your brand, which most anybody would show up well for or should show up well for. However, if you're just typing in something general like appliance repair, you also need to know that you could be showing up well on your own computer, but across town, you're not showing up well on someone else's computer. So you need to really define showing up well. It's showing up well for which keyword terms and phrases and exactly what location, because proximity is everything these days. Google has a very good proximity search algorithm these days, and it's getting better and better all the time.
You do have to be very conscious. You and I were actually just talking about this. You had to take a lot of extra steps because you were trying to work with some stuff for EJ, and I was actually showing up on your search results.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling Zach just yesterday, every time that I do any research for any client that's in the appliance repair industry, as soon as I start typing something, even if I'm in incognito mode, it knows where I'm at. It knows where my, internet service provider is and what town I'm in, unless I specifically tell my browser and get a VPN and cloak a different location. It knows where I am. So every time that I would do any kind of research, as soon as I would type anything with appliance in it, Zach shows up number one, regardless of what I was searching for.
That speaks to how good you are at your job, by the way. So yeah, you got to be really careful with that. There are a lot of tools out there, and again, that's an SEO kind of thing. You need someone that knows what they're doing to kind of walk you through that. And then there are steps that they can take to actually rank you higher. Mike has done a lot of work on my website. There's a reason why I show up no matter what he's doing on the top of the list.
Dominating everything around here in our area.
Because Mike has done a lot of work. And so a good SEO expert can make that happen for you. They will put you at the top of the list, and truly at the top of the list. There are some independent tools that they can check on that. We have a question from a new guy, Alex Hand. So he's been thinking on it all day. He sent this at the end of the day yesterday. For someone who's starting completely fresh with a new website, even though they have an established business in the area for many years, what are the key features that are most important when building your website? Scheduling, getting someone to call, like a push to call button. You and I actually talked about that. Jenny actually asked in the question before this, like drop shipping from your website, stuff like that, parts ordering. Like, what are the things that are important, and what are the kind of like sprinkles as it pertains to web building for a new guy?
Well, when it comes to websites, it doesn't matter how old your business is. You could have been in business 20 years, but if your website is new and fresh and clean, it's brand new. It has no trust in Google's eyes yet. It has no authority. It's basically unknown, and Google doesn't know what to do with it, so it's going to pretty much just keep you at the bottom. The best way to gain trust and authority in Google's eyes, because that's what everything is these days. when I say trust and authority in Google's eyes, it means the website has to have a domain period that it's been registered. The older the domain, the more it's going to trust it. The longer the website's been out there, the more it's going to trust it. The more you have links on other sites that are in your industry that point to your website, that's going to gain trust. And business citations is a huge trust factor. So if you've got, Yelp listings, any other business listing on Home Advisor and any other listing type website where you can put your name, address, phone number, make sure it's all consistent, that all the data across all those listings is exactly the same. That helps gain authority and it legitimizes your business in Google's eyes. Even if customers don't search and see that, everywhere you're listed, Google knows because it's crawling those sites on a daily basis.
That's awesome. So adding the question that Andrew actually asked in the comments just now, does a local person providing SEO services have any more value than a remote contractor? I can kind of even speak to this and then let Mike follow up. He's done the same kind of work for me as he's done for EJ. And we equally have the value coming from that. Mike is near me. He's remote from EJ. So
I do work around the world, across the United States mostly, but I've got a lot of international clients as well. And I have had, honestly, some of them leave me when they're in a different location than I am. They've left me because they thought that there was value in another local client or a local service provider. And in every single case, within a year, they've come back to me and I've had to clean up the mess that someone else made. There's in my industry, when it comes to SEO and web development, it's a digital service. So it doesn't matter where anybody's at. The biggest thing is finding a trustworthy, honest provider that knows their stuff. That's the key. And that's probably the hardest thing to find. And
I went through 4 people before coming to you. So
yeah. And I mean, everybody wants to go the cheap route. I know what I know because I've done it for so long, and I'm in a lot of SEO groups that actually do testing. We experiment. We know what Google likes and what it doesn't like. And most web developers out there, if they even know how to build a decent website, that's number one. But they can say all day long that they know SEO, and someone like me is going to come along and seriously put them to shame. I did that to my best friend. One of my best friends was a web developer up in Wisconsin, and I built a page. I launched it. I had it indexed within 5 minutes, and I showed up number 1 in the SERPs in his town. And I called him and I'm like, dude, search for this and tell me what you think. And he's like, how the hell did you do that? And I had to teach him real SEO. And this was almost 3 years ago. I built the page, never touched it since then. And I got him to rank number 1 in his own town for his, service. And then I'm still ranking number 2.
And he wasn't a dummy. I mean, like he wasn't a dummy. He kind of knew what he was doing, and you just went squash. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of thing. I was like, you don't know SEO like you think you know SEO. There's so many nuts and bolts to it that it's insane. So getting back to the question, finding someone who's really experienced, I can tell you right now, it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be very valuable if you find that right person.
The ROI is way more new than you put
Exactly.
out for sure. For sure. Unless
it
you're
it
TK.
might hurt at first, but once that stuff starts, once the SEO starts working and gains traction, it's not a light switch that you can just flip on. I mean, those games are over with Google.
Yeah.
Now Google has updated their algorithm that everything goes slower, and that trust has to be built over time. And there's a little bit of trickery here and there, but those only work so long. Once Google figures out that we found a workaround for some of that trickery, they act on it pretty quick. And it doesn't take people long to figure, or Google long to figure out those little trickery holes, because they can see everything that's being done, and their algorithm's smart, and they've got some pretty smart people working over at Google, obviously.
Most of the time we won't share the conversation that we had the other day about something that we learned about Google, but
yeah,
your buddy getting shut down on everything, even stuff that didn't pertain to it. We won't.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I'm running a similar experiment for the appliance repair industry that if it turns out the way I think it's going to turn out, you might be able to see that at a presentation at PSA, maybe.
Just not a online presence thing for that. That's a little too.
We can't have that discussion here. Anyway, moving. Next question.
Drop shipping, e-store, whatever. You think that matters for appliance repair? I know EJ is using through Marcone. Marcone offers this thing where customers can go on and you don't have to do anything. It's just a link within your page. But beyond that, is there value in having that as you've found anyway?
All right. I had this conversation with TK because he asked the same exact question. And basically what I told TK was, if you've got something like Marcone where you can just have a link and just send them off to another site and they become Marcone's customer, they're dealing with Marcone 100%, you're getting a referral, for that. That's one thing. And that's good. You can do that. And I highly recommend doing that. It works the same as an affiliate link, basically. Having an actual website that does drop shipping, there's a lot involved with all that you need to have someone that can handle phone calls for orders because they're going to be calling you. And you got to have somebody knowledgeable about those parts and what those people need and be able to answer those questions, right? That's not a business that I'd want to be in.
A lot of work.
On top of that, you're going to have people calling you, when's my part going to be here? And all that stuff with the tracking and all that. Because people, even though you provide them with that, things fall through the cracks. You're going to have to deal with support. And along with support, you're going to have someone that can handle returns, because guess who they're going to call when they have to return something or it shows up broken. So dealing with warranties on those parts, you got to deal with it. Now you've just become liable. You've become the store. You just became the seller of that product. So in all that aspect, white label drop shipping means nothing. They're just shipping it at that point. You become the liability for all of your sales and service, and you have to provide all that. And I'm not a big fan of drop shipping services when it comes to that type of situation. And that's the advice I gave TK. And most people, I don't think they really understand what all is involved with that, because just because you don't have to stock it doesn't mean that that's a completely separate business than your appliance repair business at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've just become an online retailer. And unless you know all the nuts and bolts, and now you've got another website that you've got to link in with the drop shipper and have all those parts synchronized, and you've got to manage that. And now you've just got a website monster on your hands that you got to deal with as well. So
I will give it to Marcone. That's where the advantage comes, is because it all goes through their stuff and it's hands off for you. Literally,
right.
Your customers are coming to your page, and instead of going to Repair Clinic or, Amazon or whatever, they're already coming to you, and they're probably looking for a part to do it themselves first.
Right.
And Marcone just kind of handles
a page set up, strictly for selling parts.
Right.
That just says we supply parts. Here's the link.
Right.
And then it shoots them off.
Right.
And that's that.
Yeah, Marcone handles that. I mean, I will give it to him. They actually do a really good job. I've seen the interaction in that, and you don't make squat on it.
In the appliance repair industry, HVAC industries, and all the sub industries, that you guys cross over and touch, I really don't see it adding a ton of business, to your bottom line. So I really, it's a nice little extra that you can do,
mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't put a ton of effort and focus into it, because your ROI isn't going to be
right what you think it is.
Yeah.
So Andrew,
if people aren't finding you on your website or finding you on Google for your website, they're not going to go there and buy parts. So, there's a lot of other things, your visibility as far as search is going to be extremely low.
This next question from Andrew is a pretty good one too. What is a do-it-yourself or cheap thing to do, door-to-door digital footprint world? Or is there such a thing, is my follow-up to that?
The door-to-door of a digital footprint world.
Yeah, like door knockers. I think that's what he's trying to say, like where you would, you're in a neighborhood, you throw a door knocker on. Is there something like that? Is there a cheap way out, or, well, I know the answer to this, but is there a cheap way out for new guys starting?
Okay. For new guys starting, probably the cheapest way out is going to be paying for Google ads. You can start up a campaign for $100 or $200 or $300 a month and raise it as you need and as you can afford it. Raise your budget monthly. As far as online, as far as like doing something physical,
Oh, he's asking if it's a booster. Sorry. So yeah. You're hitting the nail on the head with what you're saying. Dude, you got to start with the Google ads if you're a new guy.
So I mean, like if you're talking about door-to-door hangers, things like that, doing some local, on the ground marketing, that's something completely different than in the digital world. So
he's talking digital world. So Google ads is that space that he's talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's anyone new, I would start there, because that you're buying traffic to your website, period. And it's the most effective, and it's the most, it's the quickest way to actually drive traffic to your website that are qualified, providing that you know how to set up Google ads properly, because there's obviously a lot of nuts and bolts that go into that. You can't just throw random keywords in there, and those keywords can have a lot of different variations. Those keywords can be too generalized, and you could get people from all over the place. Your campaign has to be geo-fenced to only show up so your ad only shows up in your own service area. So you have to basically fence off on a map that, okay, this is my service area. I only want to target the people that are searching within this circle, on this map. Because obviously, if you're in Virginia and someone in California is searching for a service, why would your ad show up there, and why would you pay for clicks? because they obviously have to click that ad to find out where you're at. So having those locations geofenced is huge.
That is a great way to do it. I mean, that is the digital door knocker. Get in Facebook groups like moms groups, handyman groups, whatever, and put it out that way. Drop your website, because that will force people almost to go to it. Yeah, you have your Facebook page, but if you can get them to go to your website, even better, because that's going to help the authority for Google with them going to your web page.
Right. Speaking of Facebook pages, I mean, that you have to have a Facebook page for your business. You have to post on that Facebook page. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see so many people doing is they create these social media accounts and they don't do anything with them. You have to regularly post on your Facebook. You've got to get people to share those. You got to get people to like on them. You got to get people to comment on them.
Social media is social. If
right.
you are not social, you are getting buried.
And social signals are a small ranking factor. However, it's a very, very minor ranking factor. I'm talking very minute. However, it plays a lot in your authority and legitimacy of your business in the search engine's eyes. So at minimum, you need a Facebook page and a Twitter page. Twitter accounts are huge. Those two social media accounts alone will gain you the most authority and trust in, a search engine's eyes, because you got to think you're dealing with a machine. It's an algorithm. It's ones and zeros, and that's all it knows. And basically it just knows, if there's a business, how do I legitimize that business? Well, it should have these accounts. It should have some links coming from, say, your local chamber of commerce. That's a really huge one. And by the way, that's a really good way to get a backlink, because in your bio and your description of your business on most, I want to say most, because it depends on the chamber of commerce and the software that they use for the listings in their directories, having a link from that is going to be a very high authority link.
We're going to have to wrap up pretty soon here, but I do want to highlight this one, and then we're going to have to do this again sometime, or we have really good content. Yeah, we got the questions rolling in now. Y'all just waking up now, apparently. We'll have to do another podcast with this. But I do want to hit on this one real quick that EJ brought up, because this is a question that I've been asked a bunch, and I'm sure that you've gotten it too. I know that TK's in this situation. He don't need any more work.
EJ read my mind. I was literally waiting for an opportunity to ask exact, and not just the website, but so with what EJ's saying, and what I'd like to know is, for a company like myself, I don't do any marketing. I don't advertise. I don't SEO. I have a Google. I have a Facebook. I do very little with them. I'm booking 2 weeks out. We're turning away jobs. We don't have enough people to run all the work we have, but our plan is to grow. So being a forward-looking person, business owner that's looking to the future, what should someone like myself do to plan? And also, you've seen my website, Mike. It's garbage. What is the importance of going ahead and starting to work on these things now? Or am I pissing money down the drain, putting money into that stuff when I can't more work for me right now is a bad thing?
Okay. So this is a very, very simple question to answer. You need a good website no matter what situation you're in. Okay. Because that's the foundation of your online presence. And if that work were to dry up, organically through the channels that you're already getting them, you don't know what the future is going to hold. We just had that pandemic that affected a ton of businesses. You may have been real busy through that. You may have been slow through that. You need everything that you can in your arsenal to get coverage, right? And if your own storefront, which in the digital world, which is your website, looks like crap, then why would anybody walking down the street and look at that crappy storefront trust your business? I mean, I have physically gone to a lot of local businesses for services like buying mulch for my yard, for example. And I've gone to their websites and they were so shitty that I literally didn't pick up the phone and call them. And they were a local company. And I would go to another competitor simply because their website was better. Because in my mind, that's a more professional company to deal with. If they care about their online presence, they care about their business. Okay. And maybe I'm a little biased on that, but
no, I don't. So from an outside perspective, as far as that goes, I think kind of the same way in the digital space, because everything you need to do, especially if you're trying to level up, should be professional, right? You want to convey professionalism. Now, whether you go to the extent of like TK, you don't need to be running digital ads at all. Like you don't need to be running ads.
You're a unicorn, TK.
Yeah. You probably don't need to, you don't need to do a ton of SEO work. You should have the good structure there so that if it does become necessary, it's easy to build on. But you just need a pretty looking fence is what you need,
Yeah, I mean, somebody in your case, I mean, you are a unicorn. Somebody in your case, you're at the pivot point of scaling. So you need to make the decision. Am I going to scale? Am I going to work on my processes, train some new people, get them on board so that I can handle these? Because I can't believe that someone's waiting 2 whole weeks for you to get out there to service them an appliance. I mean, most people, that would frustrate the hell out of them, I would think.
Heck, they don't wait 2 days here in Illinois.
To your business in the long run, if you can't service the people that need you the most, for those things. So I think you're at the pivot point where you've got another challenge altogether.
Yeah, you're right. I do.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fun morning. Thank you for coming along, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I just sitting here soaking it all up, man. I loved it. I didn't understand everything, but it was good. Yeah, we definitely got to do this again.
Oh yeah. And we will do another podcast. Like we weren't kidding. Mike is literally he's in his own house, but he's 2 minutes away from me right now, so we can very easily do another podcast. Yeah. And we probably have another 3 podcasts worth of content to talk about. So
we could do 100.
Yeah. We'll make it happen. There's a lot of good comments that dropped. There's a lot of questions about content as far as video, pictures, social, what like how often to post and frequency of that. I enjoy the social media marketing. And Mike and I work together kind of how the things scale together. So yeah, we can definitely do a ton of content on all that stuff. So
you know what? Let me just say, anybody that's watching this, if you have any questions, I will help you. I'll answer your questions. Just reach out to me. If you've got some questions about SEO on your website, reach out to me. Give me your URL. I'll give you a free SEO scan, technical scan and audit of your website. So at least you know what's broken and what isn't, and if things are good, because obviously that's important. So I'll offer that to everybody in the group and that's watching.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a hell of an offer, Mike. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
And I would expect nothing less out of you just because.
And I'm gonna need to get with you about that website, man. I'm tired of pussyfooting around the subject, so I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm tired of these guys teasing me about my shitty website.
Dude, it's horrible. It is like, Mike, do you remember my original website?
I did that website.
Oh,
I
my
built it
gosh.
myself.
Yeah, well, I had a guy build mine. It was like, I don't know, it was a stupid amount of money. And then I started doing it, and Mike came in and goes, "What the did you do?" I don't know. That's why I'm paying you.
I remember our
Like,
first conversation. You came up to me. Zach and I go to church together, and he told me, he's like, "Oh, they're going to build me a website. It's like included in the package I'm paying for, or whatever." I forgot who it was that was doing it. And I'm like, "All right, cool." You know, and I remember walking away from Zach, and I was like, "This is going to turn out really bad." You know, and like a year later, you came to me and I did it right. So.
Yeah, but not without a lot of what the happened here. Yeah. So let me speak to that real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. It literally was one of those things that, like, in that space, much like Mike's friend, I know enough to get by, but not enough to be at the level that I need to be. And when the pain of that became greater than the pain of paying Mike, I paid Mike and said, "I wash my hands of this. I'm out. You do it."
Well, it's just like anything else in your business, man. You got to realize what you're good at and what you're not good at. It's opportunity cost. You're sitting there spending time working on it. Me spending time working on my website is wasted time because I'm much more valuable working on other things, fixing appliances, training people, making the business better. Just pay somebody to do it and get it over with. It's delegation and it's opportunity cost. You can't be the master of all things, so hire somebody like Mike, get them to get you up and running, and then you focus on what you're good at, and only you know what that is.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta hop off here, boys.
Just to be clear, I'm not promoting myself or trying to get work or anything. I just want to make it clear I'm willing to help. And someone just asked what my email is. Go to my website, itdwebdesign.com, and you can contact me through there and just mention that you saw the stream today or the recording.
Cool. Good deal. Y'all have a great
Mike.
day.
All right.
And we
Thanks,
will
guys.
see
Thanks,
you
everybody.
Monday morning. Pay attention for the podcast. Dropping tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.